Alexander Harrington believed there were very few things in life that could still surprise him. Had survived market crashes, hostile takeovers, and deals that decided the fate of thousands with a single signature. But on one quiet morning, standing on the terrace of his own estate, something happened that made his hands tremble for the first time in years. Below him, on the perfectly trimmed lawn, his four sons were running, not toward the fountains, not toward their toys, not toward him. They were running toward the maid. Alexander leaned forward, slightly confusion tightening his chest. The boys had everything a child could want: private tutors, imported toys, a playground larger than most public parks. He had built this world for them brick by brick, so why were they sprinting across the grass as if none of it existed? Maria had been wiping the edge of the fountain when she saw them coming. She barely had time to straighten before instinct took over. She knelt, arms opening without thought, as if her body already knew what her mind was trying to stop. The boys crashed into her, laughing, clinging, talking all at once, and then Alexander heard it: "Mommy." The word cut through the morning air, clear and undeniable. Alexander froze. Another voice followed, smaller, trembling. "We were scared you wouldn't come today." His fingers tightened around the porcelain cup in his hand until a sharp crack echoed in the silence. "Mommy." They had called the maid Mommy. For a moment, everything went quiet. No birds, no fountains. Just the sound of his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. His mind raced backward, replaying moments he had never paid attention to before. The early mornings when the boys cried and Maria was already there. The scraped knees she kissed better than any doctor. The bedtime stories whispered softly while he was still on conference calls. The nightmares she chased away while he signed contracts worth millions. Maria's voice shook as she held them close. "I'm here, my angels. I'm always here." Alexander stepped off the terrace without realizing it. His shoes sank into the grass, the image of control he wore so carefully beginning to crack. "What did you just call her?" he asked. The boys turned, surprised to see him standing so close. Ethan looked up genuinely confused. "Mommy," he said again, as if explaining something obvious. "She listens to us," Leo added. "She stays when we cry," Noah said quietly. Maria tried to pull them back, whispering apologies, her face draining of color. Then Max said the words that made the ground disappear beneath Alexander's feet. "She promised she wouldn't leave us like the other mom." Alexander felt the breath leave his lungs. Other mom. His mind flashed to a memory he had buried years ago. His wife standing in the marble hallway, heels clicking sharply as she said she couldn't do it anymore. He remembered nodding distractedly, phone pressed to his ear, already thinking about the next meeting. Had assumed the boys were too young to remember. He had assumed money would soften everything. He had assumed wrong. "She left," Max continued. "She didn't hug us," Noah added. "But Maria stayed." Ethan finished. Alexander looked at Maria now, really looked at her. Not as staff, not as background, but as a woman with tired eyes, worn hands, and a heart that had quietly carried what he had dropped. "Is this true?" he asked, his voice stripped of authority. Maria swallowed. "I never wanted to replace anyone," she said softly. "I just couldn't watch them cry alone." The silence that followed was heavier than any boardroom standoff Alexander had ever faced. For the first time, he understood something that no success had ever taught him: love wasn't something you funded. It was something you showed up for. The boys reached for his hands. "Daddy," Leo said gently, "you're always busy, but you can stay now, right?" There was no anger in his voice, only hope. Alexander knelt, the expensive fabric of his suit pressed into the grass as he pulled his sons into his arms. He felt their warmth, their trust, the truth they had revealed without trying to hurt him. "I'm here," he whispered, even though he wasn't sure yet how to be. He looked up at Maria, who stood uncertainly afraid she had crossed the line. She could never return from thank you, he said. The words felt unfamiliar, but necessary for being there when I wasn't. Tears slipped down Maria's cheeks as she nodded that. Day didn't fix everything, but it changed something forever because the greatest shock of Alexander Harrington's life didn't come from a market crash or a loss. Fortunate came from four small voices calling a maid mommy and forcing him to finally see what love really meant. And sometimes that realization changes everything. Before you go, hit like and subscribe to Lonja Tailies as we spread kindness to the world.